Sudan's uprooted millions pay price for year-long war. A year of war between Sudan's army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF, has driven more than 8.5 million people from their homes, creating the world's largest displacement crisis.
Mohammed Ismail fled the war in Sudan for Egypt. In his new life in Giza, Ismail relies on a monthly salary of about $100 from a paper factory to put food in the mouths of his 5 children. But he says it's more important for his family to be safe.
We are not looking at the economic situation right now. We're more concerned with the safety aspect. My children now, one of them is named Saleh. He still sleeps with me until now, because the sounds of bangs and explosions scare him. He still wakes up scared at night, unless he sleeps next to me.
A year of war between Sudan's army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces has driven more than 8.5 million people from their homes. It is the world's largest displacement crisis, which has uprooted families multiple times and pushed millions into extreme hunger. Some of the displaced, like Mohammed Ismail, have escaped Sudan to neighbouring countries with economic and security problems of their own. Others are internally displaced. Tens of thousands have sought shelter under the protection of the army at displacement centres in the Red Sea city of Port Sudan. Mashair Ali is a mother of 3 from the capital, Khartoum.
Displacement is a very harsh experience. You cannot imagine that one day you will be living like this, from your home with a room and a private life to another new place where you sleep on the floor, waiting for relief and anything to eat. You think you are in a dream when you think about this life. Up until this moment, which is almost a year now, it feels like we're in a dream. Is this reality? Is this how our reality would look like? It is very difficult.
Sudan's war erupted on April 15th, 2023, over a planned political transition under which the army and the RSF were competing to protect their interests. Fighting tore through the capital and unleashed waves of ethnically driven violence in the western region of Darfur. Thousands of civilians have been killed, although death toll estimates are highly uncertain, and both sides have been accused of committing war crimes. The United States on Sunday will announce an additional $100 million in aid to support the conflict in Sudan, according to a statement seen by Reuters. Washington's announcement of further assistance comes ahead of a humanitarian conference in France on April 15th. The US has urged partners around the world to put greater priority on the conflict in Sudan and step up with further funding at the conference.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Sunday condemned Iran's attack on Israel and said his country needs help from its allies to fend off threats from the air, just as Israel did. In a nightly address, Zelensky said that, quote, Israel was not alone in this defense, adding that, quote, when Ukraine says that the allies cannot turn a blind eye to Russian missiles and drones, it means that it is necessary to act, and act strongly. The war in Ukraine has escalated in recent weeks. Ukraine's top commander said on Sunday that Russian forces aim to capture the town of Shavis Yar by May 9th, setting the stage for an important battle for control of high ground in the east, where Russia is focusing its assaults. Since late March, Russia has launched multiple major attacks on Ukrainian energy infrastructure, inflicting significant damage to the Ukrainian power system and causing emergency power cuts in some regions. This senior employee at a plant that is undisclosed for security reasons says he had to go to the bomb shelter after seeing that no power units were left intact. Zelensky again called on the U.S. Congress to approve a vital aid package that has been blocked by House Republicans for months. Republican Representative Steve Scalise said that in response to the Iranian attack, the House would change its schedule to consider legislation that supports Israel and holds Iran accountable. It was not immediately clear to which legislation he was referring. Iran has supplied thousands of drones to Russia throughout its invasion of Ukraine. They've been used to exhaust Ukrainian air defenses and hit infrastructure far from the front lines.
The Middle East is on the brink. The people of the region are confronting a real danger of a devastating, full-scale conflict. Now is the time to defuse and de-escalate. Now is the time for maximum restraint. I remind all member states that the Charter of the United Nations prohibits the use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state, or in any other manner inconsistent with the purposes of the United Nations. Furthermore, the principle of inviolability of diplomatic and consular premises and personnel must be respected in all cases, in accordance with international law, as I stated when condemning the 1 April attack on the Iranian consulate in Damascus. Acts of reprisal involving the use of force are barred under international law.
المخابز شغله كويسه، هذه بتريح الناس وبتريح الجميع. شغله كويسه منيحه، يصير تاكل خبز. بعدين احنا عانينا معاناه شديده لما نشتري كيلو طحين 90 شيكل و100 شيكل، هذا شغله جنون، والناس مش معها مصاري، الناس مفلسه، فيش عمل، فيش شغل. الوضع صعب، اصعب من الصعب، مرينا بامور صعبه الله بيعلم فيها.
In Modi's India, opponents and journalists feel the squeeze ahead of election. Mihir Desai has fought for the civil liberties and human rights of India's most disadvantaged communities, such as the poor and Muslims, for nearly 4 decades. He speaks about India's elections.
So you have a facade of an election, okay, to show that we are a democracy. But democracy is not only about elections, and even that election facade is not being played out properly in the sense that it's you know how much under attack it is. So democracy will survive. Democracy is not just elections every 5 years; it's much more than that. And in all those aspects, you find Indian democracy slide. It has already slid down considerably and is virtually becoming a totalitarian kind of a society. On a lot of issues concerning civil rights and civil liberties, I feel the judgments which the courts have given have been pretty bad and pretty wrong. You can start with the way they deal with UAPA and PMLA. These are the 2 laws which are used against civil society as well as the political opposition.
New Delhi, AP. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his government are increasingly wielding strong-arm tactics to subdue political opponents and critics of the ruling Hindu Nationalist Party. A decade into power, and on the cusp of securing 5 more years, the Modi government is reversing India's decades-long commitment to multi-party democracy and secularism. The ruling Bharatiya Janata Party has brought corruption charges against many officials from its main rival, the Congress Party, but few convictions. Dozens of politicians from other opposition parties are under investigation or in jail. And just last month, Modi's government froze the Congress Party's bank accounts for what it said was non-payment of taxes. The Modi administration says the country's investigating agencies are independent and that its democratic institutions are robust, pointing to high voter turnout in recent elections that have delivered Modi's party a clear mandate. Yet civil liberties are under attack. Peaceful protests have been crushed with force. A once free and diverse press is threatened. Violence is on the rise against the Muslim minority. And the country's judiciary increasingly aligns with the executive branch.
വാർത്ത റിപ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ പോകുന്നതിനിടയിലാണ് അറസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. അറസ്റ്റ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഡിറ്റൻഷൻ ചെയ്യുന്നത്, തടഞ്ഞു വെക്കുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ എന്താണ് സംഭവിക്കുന്നതെന്ന് അറിയുന്നില്ല. ചാർജസിനെ കുറിച്ചിട്ടൊന്നും നമുക്ക് അറിയുന്നില്ല. അറിയുന്നത് പത്രങ്ങളിലൂടെയാണ്. പിന്നീട് ഇവിടെ എത്തിയതിന് ശേഷം, ജയിലിൽ എത്തിയതിന് ശേഷം
The truth is always true. Whether in prison
ഇതാണ് ഏറ്റവും വലിയ പ്രശ്നം. അപ്പോൾ ആ സമയത്തുള്ള നമ്മൾ നേരിടുന്ന ഏറ്റവും വലിയ പ്രശ്നം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഒരു സ്ഥാപനത്തിൽ ജോലി ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ല, ഒരു മാധ്യമ സ്ഥാപനത്തിൽ ജോലി ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ല. ഏതെങ്കിലും ഒരു ഫ്രീലാൻസ് ചെയ്യുകയാണെങ്കിൽ പോലും അവരോട് പറഞ്ഞ സമയത്ത് നമുക്ക് ആ വർക്ക് ചെയ്തു കൊടുക്കാൻ പറ്റില്ല എന്നുള്ളതാണ് ഏറ്റവും വലിയൊരു പ്രശ്നം. ഒരു ഭാഗത്ത് നമ്മൾ ഫിനാൻഷ്യലി വീക്കാണ്, മറ്റൊരു ഭാഗത്ത് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഇതിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ടൊരു മന്ത്ലി 40,000-45,000 റുപ്പീസ് കണ്ടെത്തണം. ഒരു ഭാഗത്ത് ജോലിയില്ല, മറുവശത്ത് ഇത് ചെയ്യണം. അങ്ങനത്തെ ഒരു അവസ്ഥയിലാണ് ഇപ്പോൾ നിൽക്കുന്നത്. സാധാരണ കഴിഞ്ഞ കാലങ്ങളിലൊക്കെ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ മാധ്യമപ്രവർത്തകർ നടത്തിയിരുന്നത് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് പ്രതിപക്ഷത്തിൻ്റെ ശബ്ദങ്ങളാണ് ഉയർത്തിക്കാട്ടിയിരുന്നത്. ഇപ്പോൾ പ്രതിപക്ഷത്തിൻ്റെ ശബ്ദങ്ങൾ ഉയർത്തുന്നതിന് പകരം സർക്കാരിനെ ഗ്ലോറിഫൈ ചെയ്യുന്നു, അതിന് വ്യാജ വാർത്തകൾ സൃഷ്ടിച്ചു കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നു.